Welcome to the Backyard Professor Chess videos, you future grandmasters, international masters, and masters. I have a wonderful little ditty to share with you today. 4 chess videos in one weekend. It has been snowing all day long. I'm gonna have heck week again, so I'm trying to ram in the videos. Maybe a couple days before I get another one made. Don't fret. I'm giving you plenty of material to look through, I promise. This game is by 2 of my favorites. I hate to see either one of them lose, but one of them has to lose. J.R. Capablanca and Alexander Alekhine. And this particular game is just sweet. Capablanca was perhaps the most natural chess player, right? Alekhine is white, Capablanca is black. Alekhine, of course, just mowed him over. He just dominated everybody. Nimzovich complained, he just plays with us. He just Mickey Mouses around and waltzes us out the door. Nobody, when Alekhine was on, nobody could withstand him, right? The interesting thing is, when Capablanca was on, nobody could withstand him either. I've got some terrific games by both of these guys. I've been trying to get to where I can show you. I play through as many of them as I can because they're so fun to watch. They're so fun to learn from. This is the Ruy Lopez. But here, Capablanca does not push this pawn yet. He goes right to Queen 3. A very interesting. Oh, hey. This is in the Immortal Games of Capablanca. Really nice little collection of his games. Pawn, Queen 4. Center all the way. Pawn, take, pawn. Targets and central control. That is how the grandmasters do it. I promise. That is how the grandmasters do it. Knight take the pawn. So we're getting involved. Bishop Queen 2. Nice little bump up. Knight Queen Bishop 3. One more piece out there in the field. Knight to Bishop 3. One more piece hitting the center out there in the field. And Alekhine castles. Yay! Let's hear it for castling! Woohoo! Yeah, Alekhine castled. Shut up and move. Bishop King 2. Woohoo! Capablanca's ready to castle. Yeah, I know. Shut up and move. Now, Alekhine puts his knight on Bishop 5. Now, targets. King isn't castled yet. But one, you're moving a piece more than once in the opening and you're not anywhere near developed, right? But an Alekhine can sometimes get away with this, but not against a Capablanca. The unfortunate consequence of Alekhine going fishing so early is it really does leave him with a weak pawn structure. And against a Capablanca who was a simply superb end-game artist, you can't do that and get away with it very easily, right? But it is Alekhine. I'm just saying, it's Alekhine. The bishop will take the knight. Target! It also eliminates a central sort of kingside influence of an attack. Nice. Target consciousness. I'm just saying, these guys do it. Pawn takes the bishop. Notice how the center has opened up, and Alekhine has no center pawns. That's quite a view. That's rare. I mean, sincerely, just stop and look at that. That's rare. No central pawns with Alekhine? Not very. I mean, blue moons are more readily available than this. That is quite remarkable. And now, our hero Capablanca castles. And now our hero Alekhine, this is so Alekhine. Really? Rook King 1. Yeah. Do I have to explain why? Do I have to even explain what it is? And we're talking just the 10th move. I'm telling you, early. Yeah, do it now. Do it fast, do it hard, do it furious. Yep. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Bishop on the diagonal. I've just seen if you were awake. We're talking rook on the file. Yeah. Rook King 1 has nothing to do with bishop on the diagonal. Yeah, whatever. All right. Okay, now let's get serious here. Let's get serious. That's very difficult to do for some of us. I'm just saying. Where was I before I started to lie? Okay. Okay, now. Decent, well enough developed that Knight Queen 2 and Kappa can get away with this, right? Actually, it's a very good maneuver. There's nothing to get away with. That is a sweet maneuver. Knight to Queen 5. Now, observe something here with me for just a moment that I find. I play through a lot of Alekhine games. I need to play through a lot more. He is just not developing while Kappa is developing better, and he keeps moving his pieces more than once. I know, I've criticized that in the past. This is Alekhine, but that's Capablanca. Just watch this. This is unique. Really. Okay. Bishop, bishop 3. Not bad. Target. Target. It'll keep this bishop down here. Target. I'm just saying. Just, you know, possible in. That's all. That's all. Well, he stops that. But notice, Kappa's move makes Alekhine bump a pawn. Just see the consequence, right, of target hunting. This can be useful, really. Knight comes to knight 3. Now see, Capablanca is also maneuvering a knight around, but with purpose. Target. I just want to point that out. Targets. Right? Now it's not, the text says it's not really well placed here, but watch the effect it has on the development of Alekhine because of his lack of development. And this is unusual. Really. I'm not exaggerating that. I'm not trying to be cute. This is weird. Knight takes bishop check. Again, that's the third move of that knight. And the queen will take. So he's exchanged down. He is hitting targets. Bishop hits the knight, another target. And the pawn takes the bishop. Doubled pawns, not a crisis. If there was something like this and that pawn wasn't there, that would be a complete disaster. You can see how that makes those weak, can't you? With no pawn on either side of them to support or to chase that off. Oh, that could be brutal. As it is, that's not necessarily, in fact, it could be a strength. It really could. So anyway, where was I before I started to lie? Knight takes bishop check, queen takes knight, bishop takes knight, pawn takes bishop, queen to bishop 3. Bringing up a piece, target. I'm just saying, you know, it's not a big deal. Target. That's all I want to let you know. King Rook. King 1. Target. It's really not a big deal. Target. with central development, challenging the open file. It's really not a big deal, but it is a Grandmaster game. Just, you know, I'm just a meager comment. Bishop King 3, target. It's not a crisis, but target. Okay. All right, enough said on that. Watch. See, the doubled pawns aren't weak. Not when they can do this. Look at how it strengthens Capablanca's center. That's not bad, really. It's pretty good. So it's not a bad thing that Alekhine took his knight and then he had to take with the pawn. Here, it really does give him a good structure at this point, just to let you know. The other thing that this does is it's a target on this square. Because Alekhine, were he given the chance to do this, that's good. That would be a power move, right? So you can acquire targets as a preventative measure. You can use targets to make your opponent's position weaker than yours. Targets just don't have to be pawns and pieces. They can be squares. They don't have to be an acquisition. They can be a prevention. And that prevents a very good move. So, target, central target. A very good preventative central target. Nice. Very nice. Rook to King 2. Is he intending on doubling his rooks? Rook to King 4. Now this puts the rook on an outpost and it gives a double whammy on the pawn that will challenge the queen. So we are talking that move. If you had been in this position and you're wondering, well, you know, what can I do? That's a target. That's a great move to target, and that's a target. So really, central open, and it gives you an option also. Alekhine's bumping his rook for a reason. He's not just willy-nilly moving. It's obvious he's going to double his rook on the file. Well, Capablanca actually gets a kind of a double, a half a step ahead. He does a double whammy here by bringing up his rook. He also gives himself a chance, but he's got targets. And Alekhine is going to have to respond to Capablanca's threats, because Alekhine's threat, doubling the rooks, is less powerful than Capablanca's threats. Target consciousness. I'm telling you, this stuff works. Very interesting development here. Really nice. And sure enough, he does. He goes, okay, I'll double it. And Capablanca responds in kind. He says, deal. Deal. Neither one of us are going to get to keep our rooks or this open file. It's not worth it. See, this is one of the keys to successful Grandmaster playing. Number one, you don't want to just... If your opponent gets an open file with a rook, if you can get a different open file, then that's good, depending on its location. But you don't just want to let your opponent have an open file, man. That's like letting him have a passed pawn and letting him bump in and get a queen. That's just not in the program. Same with open files. They are so powerful that it is best, more or less, to challenge that file. And this is exactly what we see Capablanca doing with advantage for one simple reason. He has targets. That gives him the initiative, you guys. Targets? Targets. Technically, targets. If Alekhine does not want to change off the rooks, his bishop is considered pinned. Right? So there's a lot going on here that is really very interesting. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Queen targets. 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 You eliminate those targets, you have another target. Another target, although the queen is guarding this one at this point. That's why that move makes sense. You destroy the queen side, and you have the pawn majority. That's endgame insurance. Targets. I know, I'm driving you nuts repeating this. Trust me, someday you'll thank me for doing this. It's like when I did on my math videos, when I helped people understand the difference. Believe it or not, there were lots of people who did not understand in fractions how to remember the numerator from the denominator. And so I came up with a little gimmick that was quite fun, and I had tens of thousands of people tell me that was the coolest thing they've ever learned, and they will never forget it. And I just simply said, you've got to give yourself a mnemonic that you will never forget on how to distinguish a denominator from a numerator, and it's easy. Denominator down. The denominator is down on the bottom. Denominator down. And the louder, more goofy, more silly you make that denominator down, you'll never forget that again. You won't have a problem with that. And I had a lot of people say that was awesome. And I told them, don't do that during a test. They'll think you're whacked out, right? But denominator down. Target hit. Come up with something so that you watch for targets. I'm just saying. So, unfortunately, this doesn't turn out as good as he was hoping, and the pawn does fall now, yeah. There's no reason to leave that pawn. Targets. Targets. No joke, targets. See, when you begin looking for targets, it almost guides the way you're going to move and which pieces to move and where to, doesn't it? That's kind of nifty. It almost acts like a template for how to play the game while you're reading the board. That's a help. It is a help, right? It is for me. Well, targets. You've got the targets. For Pete's sake, take them. Now watch them annihilate the pawn power and structure of the queen side. Very interesting. Queen comes to king 3. Keep in touch with this one. Man, you don't want that one to fall. So Alekhine goes to here. Targets. You have the target. Take it. Targets. You've got the target. So you see, Alekhine, by being target conscious, is yanking the initiative back to him. Now, he is going to make Capablanca react by getting that knight to safety, because now his cover is shot. That makes sense? The power of targets. A knight comes to queen 4. Target, 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 target. This is very powerful. Really. That's the position. I'll bet when Alekhine was looking at this, he was thinking, gosh, I wish I could switch him places. I would love to have this position. Yeah. All of a sudden, unfortunately for one of them, it backfires. More or less. All of a sudden, the acquisition of targets did not turn out beneficial. You remember I've said in former videos, not all targets are as good as some of the others. One of the criteria that I've come up with is if it is helping your position, if it is getting your position stronger, more mobile, more centralized, whatever. Who's centralized here? Wow. I mean, complete possession. That's impressive. Alekine's not doing too bad, but this is overwhelming. Why does this inspire you more than this central power? The pawns. Yeah. Early on, Alekhine got his pawns blown out. So his central influence is not as strong as this. You can just literally see the difference there, can't you? That's important to, just so you understand. Just okay, so, well, king comes to bishop 1. Get your king in there to protect, because every one of these guys are going to become victims if he's not careful. I mean, every one of them. They can be instantly swiped off the board right now, man. This is a great position for Capablanca. So the king becomes a fighting unit. Consolidate, tuck it in, make sure everybody helps everybody else, because this is a steamroller potential. And the queen, she's off here picking daisies in the field when she should be home. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is getting tough. Now, knight bishop 5, target. That, what do you do next? Man, now you know why that move makes sense. Yes, power move, hitting targets, right? The rook bumps to a queen 2 target, and perhaps he's thinking bringing the queen here because he can't win on this. This is a lost cause. You can't win that, so you got to figure something else out. You got to shift your targets, is what Alekhine appears to me to be trying to do, yeah? The knight takes the pawn, target, and disrupting the king cover. He didn't not take that target. Yeah, he loses the exchange, but what does he get in response? That is what the key is. Of course, you're going to want to take the knight. Yeah. Sounds like I've got company. My puppy's barking upstairs. Now watch, though. Target. Whoa. Uh-oh. King, bishop 1. Queen, rook 6. Target. Yes, it's protected at this point. It's still a target. Ooh, things are getting dicey for Alekhine. King 2. Blam. Target. Check. Now Alekhine's sweating. Of course, the target, it was protected, so it's an exchange, but that doesn't mean it was any less of a target. And now, target. Blam. Check. And Alekhine's going, ooh, ouch. Oh, I gotta think of something quick here. Capablanca's acting serious. King, queen 1, and now target. Queen takes the rook. Check. Holy cow. Target acquisition. The king is the target. Keep the initiative. Alekhine failed to get the initiative here because early on he lost his central pawns, and Capablanca had him, so he had the more powerful setup, and it basically disseminated Alekhine's power. And now he's paying for it. Very interesting here. King, knight 3. And then the queen came to bishop 3, and they're saying, well, that wasn't the best place, but they were having time trouble. Both of these last two moves were somewhat questionable, but the book says they were in time trouble, so now they've got the reset, and now they're ready to go again, right? So Alekhine bumps the rook pawn. Now he must move, and very speedily. The time for willy-nilly is over, and look, central push. Yeah, central push. Pawn going like crazy. You gotta go, you gotta go. Check. Target, if the king can get away, if he can get the king away from it, target, except the rook's covering it at this point. Target, except the queen's covering it at this point, but they're targets nonetheless. Yeah? So he bumps to king rook 3, and now rook to knight 1. Oh man. Now the target becomes a square. There's your checkmate. You notice how the target can shift from being a piece, or a pawn or a piece, to a square. Right? Keep that in mind. King bumps down to rook 2, of course, and now he goes here. And you go, he's doing so well on this side, why would you bother to do that? Because of the threat of a back rank checkmate, Capablanca's rook has to stay here on this file. Because like this, it's a back rank checkmate if the queen gets here, right? But Capablanca needs to use his rook, so give your king an escape route. Pay attention to that. I can't tell you how many, just this year, how many games, my training games, I've lost to back rank checkmates. Even in the greatest of grandmaster games, that threat is real, right? Take a moment, give your king an escape hatch before you proceed to try to checkmate that king, right? A beautiful chess, real beautiful. Alekhine is just going great guns. He's going to try like crazy to get a pass pawn. That's all he can do at this point. Yeah? Boom. Queen knight 6. Like I said, the square can become a target too. And it was here that the mighty Alekhine resigned. And that's rare to see. Alekhine didn't resign very often. Here's why. If king goes to knight 1, then he says the rook goes to king 1, and once again we see the beautiful file. Yeah? Rook comes to queen bishop 2, and rook goes to king 8 check. So the rook drops to bishop 1, and the rook comes up to king 7, and he can force a checkmate from here. Right? You can see that. What else does he have that he can do? Sorry, it's Alekhine's move. What can he do? There's nothing he can do. There, the queen just takes, checkmate. If he goes here, the queen just takes, check, and then checkmate, right? That's quite a remarkable game for the influence of thinking about targets. What I've been deliberately emphasizing, because it is an expander of our abilities to improve our chess. We, in this grasping of this principle of really seriously focus on targets, doesn't matter, pawns, pieces, squares, what we have done is we've bumped up. We are now on a higher level of chess. For me, I've gone from an inch above the ground to an inch and a quarter. You guys are probably at the 1-story or 2-story mark. It's okay, I'll catch you. Give me 25 years and I'll get there. So anyway, fun video to show. Great game to analyze. Watch this through a couple times. The greatest of the greats played just exactly like we're learning how to. Because of them. It worked for them. It will work for us. So, have fun, be good, do well. Be good citizens of your country. Be honorable. Be honest. That's a tough one, boy. That is a tough one, isn't it? Yeah. So anyway, stay happy. And I will see you guys in the next chess video.